Hello, guys. Welcome back to another ESPN video. I don't know if you can tell, but my background's changed. I've flown out to Morocco, and we're at AFCON. We made it for 2025, and it's been an exciting trip thus far. I'm joined by the one and only Colin Udoh. Colin, thank you for joining me at such short notice. The
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for joining me. The reason you're joining me on such short notice, obviously, we're on the go here, as you could probably tell by your background. But there's some news that was coming out in the Nigeria camp today. I just wanted to ask if you could just kind of give us some details about what's been happening. Obviously, if you're watching the video, you could probably see Nigeria potentially might boycott, but there's been developments on the story.
Oh yeah, what happened was the players met with officials and told them that they were going to boycott training today, which is Wednesday, and also they would not travel, but they plan to travel to Marrakesh for their quarterfinal game against Algeria unless they had their bonuses for the tournament paid. Those bonuses are 4 games. Their win bonuses from the games against Tanzania, Tunisia, and Uganda for the group stage, and Mozambique for the round of 16. So those payments had not come through for the players, and they were very upset about it. But the NFF let them know, and the Sports Commission, who oversee the NFF, showed them that the payments had been processed. They are coming to the Central Bank of Nigeria, and it would normally take about 7 days to get to each individual player's accounts. And so they showed them that and let them know that they were not inclined to travel with cash, because traveling with cash, especially foreign currency, was it's against the law in Nigeria right now. So they weren't going to do that. So what they wanted to do was, make sure the monies were paid into each player's account, and the process has started, and that would be completed in the next 7 days. So as a result of that, the players backtracked. They were at practice training this morning. They trained as usual, so there was no disruption in their training schedule. And the expectation is that tomorrow they will be on that flight to Marrakesh.
So kind of it was raised, and it's like, okay, we're gonna nip this in the bud as soon as possible, I guess, because we wouldn't want a repeat of what happened in November, because it's obviously a similar situation happened in November, right? So it's kind of been nipped in the bud.
Oh yeah, certainly it has been nipped in the bud. And look, this should not even rear its head in the first place. The reason why things like this happen, especially at this time, and especially when you consider the last time this happened was just a couple of months ago, just before the World Cup qualifying playoff against the DRC, they ended up getting eliminated from on penalties. It's just because players don't trust the federation officials. They feel that if they don't get paid and they leave, it's probably going to take forever before they see that money, or if at all. So they want to make sure that they get their money as soon as they can, when they can, before it starts developing into, like we say, story in Nigeria. So I guess it's an issue of a lack of trust. And in some ways, that bridge building needs to continue, where the NFF and the Sports Commission deliver on their promises to the players. And the more they do that on a very consistent basis, the less we're going to have issues like this going forward. Because, you're preparing for a very, very decisive quarterfinal game. And we've seen in the past that these things don't help. So it's not a good time to have this kind of stuff coming, especially just a couple of days after the on-field incident between Victor Osimhen, Bruno Onyemaechi, and Ademola Lookman.
Yeah, so that's kind of the question I wanted to pose here, because obviously it's a very great point about like building bridges between the NFF and the players and the team and the staff, of course. But it's kind of like a devil's advocate question. Of course, we saw, like we mentioned earlier, we saw this kind of in November, where it kind of, obviously we know what happened after it. It kind of maybe it was an unnecessary distraction for the players in such a high stakes game, obviously going into the qualifiers. I want to ask your opinion on this. Obviously, the guys have raised it, and we're well within their rights to raise this. But is there a sense of they could have waited until another time to raise this, or is this a kind of a statement from the team to be like, we don't care about what's going on right now. We need to make sure that we are willing to do this in any circumstances. We're willing to boycott a quarterfinal of an AFCON. It's such a major game. Is that kind of like them trying to send a statement to the NFF in a sense?
I guess at the end of the day, it comes down to what I said earlier. It's a question of trust. They don't trust the NFF to pay them after they leave the tournament, if they leave the tournament early. And at the same time, to be honest with you, the NFF was skint. We all know that. They don't have that
Mm,
much money. So the money is coming direct from the government to the players. It's not coming from the NFF budget because they don't have the budget. Look, they're supposed to pay them $10,000 for a win, and so that's a lot of money to pay per player. And sorry, $5,000, I believe. So they don't trust them to say, hey, look, if we get out of here and go to our clubs, it might take forever for that money to come. So what they want to do is, get it when they can, because this is the only time they can put pressure both on the federation and directly to the government to make sure, excuse me, that money comes to them. And I guess for the most part, like we say, I mean, if you're a chess player like I am, we have something. We said the threat is greater than the execution. So
mm.
we did have boycotted training. We don't know, but the threat of the training boycott and also the threat of not getting on the plane to Marrakesh was at least enough to let the officials show them that, you know what, we're doing something about your payments and they are coming. And hopefully it will also be a way to let them know that if they do win the quarterfinal, which we hope they do against Algeria, then that payment will also be processed on time ahead of the semifinal and maybe even the final. So I guess the threat is what makes the execution. I mean, it's greater than the execution in this case.
I think you've just added a phrase to my vocabulary with that one, Colin. The threat is better than the execution. I like that a lot. So in terms of the game moving forward, obviously we'll play Algeria. Do you think I don't know if you're hearing anything from camp, as the kind of preparation's not been affected too much? I guess then I guess everything's still going ahead
Yeah,
as planned.
yeah. I mean, nothing really is going. The only thing we saw yesterday was that the incident that happened between Lukman and Osimhen and so on. It didn't appear anything was amiss in training because they were all running and laughing and joking together
Mm,
like before. So nothing seemed amiss. So at least on that front, we're fine. And then training, like I said, went on as usual this on Wednesday morning without any incident. So we can say that it's going on as planned with no major distractions. Sometimes, again, like I said, I mean, in many ways, you look at this and think it's probably a nothing burger for the fact that probably maybe the captain was designated to go tell the officials and say, hey, look, you know what, this is what we plan. We're not going to do this if this is not happening. And then the officials went and told the federation, and then the federation escalated to the sports commission. So in all, just looking at someone who's been a team media officer and been in there, it's not like the players sit around saying, hey, look, you know what, we're doing a sit down, we're not going to have team meetings, we're not going to do video review, we're not going to do anything until we get proof of payment. It's a question of, look, you know what, they probably discussed it because they usually have the player meetings anyway. So, hey, look, you know what, tell the captain, go tell these guys we're not going to do this. So the captain would probably go talk to the team administrator, who's ADB, actually a very good friend of mine, who is a very reliable person. And then he would have now translated that to the NFF, who, of course, would have taken it to the sportsman. So while all this was going on, the players would have been going about the same thing they were doing before, do their team meetings, have their video review, tactics training, and then, this morning they had practice, everybody was there training. So their schedule was not really disrupted by any of this that went on. So I guess in that sense, we would say that everything is proceeding as normal, except that all of the running helter-skelter was being done on the Federation and the Sports Commission side. So I guess we could say in that sense that they're still preparing as usual, because this is going to be a really big game. Nigeria, Algeria. Look,
huge.
man, Nigeria, Algeria is huge. There's a lot of history behind Nigeria, Algeria games. And hopefully before we get to the game, we'll have a sit down and I'll give you a much more deeper insight into it. Because, look, this is a storybook game. For many people who don't know, Nigeria, Algeria is an awesome, awesome, awesome game with plenty of history behind it, plenty of pedigree, plenty of storylines to be talked about.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it should be a great game. We were at Algeria, Congo, and we were amongst the fans yesterday, and the fans had a lot to say about about. They
I
said
saw
you,
that. I saw that. Great.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
great that you did that. That was amazing. You should do some with Nigeria fans as well.
yeah. We're definitely going to Marrakesh, and obviously how the game goes, that will be a crazy video as well. But Colin, thank you so much for joining me again, and giving us sharing some insight and some details on that, because it was definitely a story that came out of the blue this morning. So thank you again, and we'll see you on the next video, guys.